Drafting a research proposal is a starting point of your PhD journey. A traveler should know his location and the roadmap to reach his destination. In the same way, a prospective candidate should have a clear roadmap before enrolling for his PhD. In fact, prospective candidates are supposed to write their proposal to the selection committee along with their application. So before writing a proposal, there are certain prerequisites. Now, if you are writing a proposal to the selection committee, you need to be quite familiar with the literature, the background literature in your field. So that has to be articulated very clearly in your proposal. And you should know what are the niche areas and what are the gaps in the literature. And you should also have an idea on what are the methods that you are going to employ in order to answer your research questions. And you should also have a justification that your methods are quite, rigorous methods for analysis. At the same time, you should also have an idea on what are the analytical tools you are going to use to analyze your data. Most importantly, the significance of your research has to be very clearly articulated. So these are some of the segments that the committee will be looking for. So you need to have a clear idea on these aspects. So ideally the length could be 2000 words, but again it depends on the university, so you have to check the university guidelines. But as a beginner, you may be quite baffled on how to write a research proposal. Maybe you know the components, but what to put into each component. So in this video, I am going to give you a roadmap with practical examples. I think the context of this particular proposal that I am demonstrating in this video is in the context of educational technology and teaching writing. I recorded this video to provide some practical tips to one of my research scholars. However, you can use this framework to write your proposal regardless of the domain, regardless of your chosen field of endeavor. So I hope that the practical examples that I am going to demonstrate will help you to craft your proposal. But once you write it, you have to hone and fine-tune it time and time again. I'll just leave this practical worksheet, a link to this practical worksheet in the description box. After the demonstration video, you may just download it and use it in the context of your research. Now let me show you some practical examples for each segment.
So let me put it into context, whatever I have discussed so far. See, in the context of this study, the title is The Impact of Online Instruction on the Development of Writing Skills at Tertiary Level, a Mixed Methods Approach. So the first thing you need to do when you write a proposal is to give a background. The background will describe the current state of your research domain. So look at my introductory sentence. Since my topic is on the impact of online instruction on the development of writing skills, my introductory sentence is, the landscape of language teaching has changed as practitioners around the world are embracing technology like never before. So just give an introductory sentence which states about the current situation of your field. And after that, you will narrow down to what is the problem that you are going to address. See, now here I have zeroing in on the problem. Look at the word that's highlighted in green. Writing is a cognitively demanding task the current andragogies and practices associated with writing do not cater to online requirements. So this is a problem. So I say that there is a problem in the current the current andragogical practices. So I'm just introducing my problem. Now in the third part of my proposal, I would say why that problem deserves or why that problem merits further investigation. So look at the word that's highlighted. The last one, since writing is an iterative process, the use of online resources for writing will foster writing skills. So I'm just giving a rationale of why this research merits a deeper investigation. So having said that, we should move on to objectives and research questions in the proposal. So in the objective section, you have to say what are your primary objectives and your secondary objectives. See, here I have stated the proposed research would focus on the cognitive process associated with argumentative writing. And I'm also discussing the other objectives, like what it is going to measure, the student performance, learning outcomes, and attitudes. So we are just going to measure these things. So these are my objectives. And after articulating my objectives clearly, I'll move on to articulate my research questions. And you should also always ensure that your research questions are in alignment with your research objectives. So look at the sentences which are highlighted in green. So my research questions are, what is the impact of online instruction in the andragogical practices at the tertiary level? What is the impact of online instruction in the improvement of cognitive process in argumentative writing? So my research questions are very much in alignment to the objectives. Not only objectives, but they are in alignment with the research problem. So having said that, let's move to the theoretical lens. So every study should have a theoretical background. So then you should, in your proposal, you should state clearly what are your theoretical premises. So here I have mentioned that my theoretical lens is the researcher will be adapting the TPAC model as a theoretical lens. So you should say what your theory is, and you should also elaborate on why that particular theory very well fits into the ambit of your study. I haven't given sufficient explanation here because I have done a separate video on how to apply a theory for your research study. So look at that particular video in the channel Researchers Toolkit. That will help you to write the theoretical section better. So after writing the theoretical section, you have to move to writing the literature review. So in the literature review, you should start off your literature review by restating your research question, which you have stated earlier. Maybe you can still encapsulate those research questions in a single sentence. The study aims to measure the impact of online instruction in the andragogical practices at tertiary level. So what are the previous studies? So you'll talk about previous studies that has addressed this particular phenomena. So it should be in alignment with your research questions. So I look at the words that are highlighted in green. Online technologies are increasingly used for language teaching, particularly writing. So who are the persons who researched that earlier? So I have just providing a context of the earlier scholars who have carried out the research in this particular domain. Then I am showing the gap. Don't tell that these are the areas which are least explored. Don't say that there is a paucity of research on writing, but show with proof. See, I have shown here. These recent studies are either meta-analytic studies or studies that deal with peer review and writing feedback. So don't say that there is this is the first study of that kind, but show them why your study is different. So that is the purpose of literature review. You need to show the gap. So look at the last paragraph, which is highlighted in green here. Lim and Puha investigated on how machine learning and online technologies can provide timely feedback. So I have said the researcher used a mixed methods approach. The sample size was 146 and it was found that only 23% of them were critical users of technology. So when I talk about my previous studies, I have also explained the methodology that is followed by previous researchers, and I'm showing the limitations of that particular methodology. So I'm not only showing the previous studies, but I'm just making critical analysis of it. So you should not only provide descriptive information, provide factual evidence, but you should also discuss with what is the consensus, or the earlier researchers, do they agree with these kind of opinions, or their contradictory opinions, or their disagreements in the field. So you need to provide a kind of a critical analysis in your research. So you need to be very critical, synthesize your data, and then show them the gap. So after commenting on all that, look at the gap I have showed you. The pedagogical strategies that drive the writing outcomes are not researched. Given the dearth of studies and andragogical strategies for teaching writing, this study aims to fill this gap. So as I said before, don't explain in your proposal that there is a research gap, but let it be evidence based. Show the previous studies and then explain that it is least explored, and drive home the point that there is a paucity of research in this area. Then after that, you will move on to the method section. So in the method section, you will say what is the method or the approach you are going to adapt in order to test your research questions. So the first part of it, you should describe the method. So look at the words that are highlighted in yellow. The researcher will use a mixed methods approach to test the research questions. Research regarding technology and the creative process could be successfully observed using mixed methods approach. So you should also give a strong rationale of why that particular approach is actually a suitable approach. So first thing, describe the method. Secondly, go on to describe why that method fits into the ambit of your study, why that method is the preferred method. So I have mentioned here. See, I have mentioned also the practical reasons. There are many practical reasons for this approach, for this method. Practical aspects of using technology for fostering writing is explored. To measure the impact of writing, a mixed methods approach is deemed necessary. So I'm saying that my method is a mixed methods approach, and then let me say why that method is a suitable method. So then let me give the steps. That's very important in the method. So you need to have a clear idea on how you are going to carry out the research, a step by step. Of course, these things are iterative. They could change, but then initially, before a researcher registers for his degree, he should have an overall view or a clear roadmap on what he is going to do. So in the steps, you will explain how you are going to apply the method. Look at the column which is highlighted here. I'm just giving a step-by-step analysis of the methods. So initially, a diagnostic test on writing will be conducted. Secondly, the writing task will be designed using the TPACK framework, that is theoretical design. The performance after the teaching phase will be evaluated using paired test. A focus group interview will be conducted. Eventually, a feedback questionnaire will be given to the students. So step by step, how am I going to find the answer to my research questions? So what are the steps associated with my research? So I will provide the steps here in the methods section. And then eventually I'll discuss my proposed data analysis. How am I going to evaluate the data? So you may discuss this with your research guide and come to a conclusion on how you are going to analyze your data. So I have mentioned here the data will be analyzed using descriptive and inferential statistics. So initially a researcher may not have a clear idea, but you could just present your views tentatively, which tool you are going to use for analyzing your data. So in a nutshell, these aspects should come into your research proposal. That is your tentative title, background, problem statement, a rationale, your objectives, and then you will mention the research questions, then the theoretical lens. After that, you will carry a review of literature, restate your research questions, and then synthesize all previous literature and then show the gap after making a critical analysis of the literature. As I said before, one of the fundamental objectives of writing a proposal is to show your readers or to show your committee that you have enough grounding in literature, that you have understood what you are doing. So then you will go on to write the methods, why you are choosing the particular method, and what are the steps in your research. Ultimately, you will present the proposed data analysis. So in a nutshell, these are the components that should go into a research proposal. And I mean, eventually you will talk about why you are the suitable person to carry out that research. So what are your academic strengths that make you an absolute fit to carry out that particular research? So I've given some sample sentences pertaining to writing and educational technology, because the researcher here is carrying out a research on writing and educational technology. So what are the skills you have? A, B, and how does that skill set you possess matches with your research interest? You will also provide a work plan. So what are the milestones you wish to achieve in each stage? You can just provide a tentative plan. You may see this particular document and accordingly fine tune your work plan. So it could just vary from domain to domain, but I'm sure that this document will be useful to you. So most importantly, do not forget to mention the references. So you will make a list of the references or the readings that you have critically analyzed and present them as references in your proposal. So I have provided information in separate columns for easy understanding. So you may download this document and use it for writing your proposal. Regardless of the chosen field of endeavor, regardless of this discipline, I believe that this proposal will be useful to you.